All right. Hi, everyone. We'll get started in maybe a minute or two, but before we get into the presentation, how many folks were in the keynote yesterday and saw the HoloLens portion, or the attempted HoloLens portion of James's presentation? Okay, great. And how many have tried the HoloLens guides demo that's just over there? One or two? Excellent. So what I want to talk about a bit today are some of the things that you didn't see in the videos or won't see in the hands-on demos. So discuss a little bit around the kind of macro trends that we're seeing and why we believe mixed reality HoloLens training and development is a really, really high value scenario in the business application space. And then explore a little bit deeper into the product. So you saw on stage the kind of operator experience, what it looks like to use HoloLens for these types of scenarios. But there's a lot of things behind that about how do you create the content, right? What are the mechanisms for extracting intelligence and insights from how the product is being used. So when we look at the landscape and kind of these macro trends that are driving the interest and momentum that we're seeing in mixed reality and specifically what we're doing with Dynamics 365 guides, there's really three key elements. The first one at the top there is about the changing workforce. So if you talk to any company and you ask them about the nature of their workforce and its composition, they'll tell you their biggest concern and their biggest challenge over the next 5 years is a retiring and aging workforce. And this means two things. This means that a lot of expertise, a lot of tribal knowledge is going to be leaving companies, and that there's going to be a lot of new people that need training, and they need training quickly. When you ask companies, how they're tackling this challenge of losing expertise and losing workplace wisdom, they kind of just shrug their shoulders and say, we don't know what we're going to do. I've heard really remarkable stories. There was one company and they're a medical devices manufacturer, and I said, what are you doing about this? And they said, well, we have this platform called the Albert. And I said, well, what's the Albert? They said there was one guy that knew how to fix this machine named Albert, and they put a GoPro on him and took video of his work for a month and turned that into their training materials. Another company that I was working with, they make beer. They said they'll call people out of retirement to come and fix the machine when it goes down. So there's really strange behaviors that are taking place because there aren't good tools to capture and deliver the type of information that isn't necessarily part of traditional engineering instructions or standard operating procedures. And then when it comes to the training side of it, and you talk to operators and first-line workers about how they learn to do the jobs that they do, there's such an interesting dynamic that takes place. Usually it goes something like this. We show up at the company, and these are even with technically trained individuals. We show up, we sit in a classroom for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, go through some PowerPoints, then we go out onto the line, and we basically watch people until we're ready to do the job themselves. And when you ask individuals about how long does it take for a new employee to get up to speed, to be able to contribute, there aren't any good metrics because there's no structure to it. And we believe one of the issues underlying how we train people to do this type of work is a result of the fact that the tools that we have for delivering information are all tools that were made for us. They're made for people that sit at desks. I've been sitting at a desk for the last 20 years. What I did in school and what I do at work physically are very, very similar. But when your job requires you to use your hands, there's a physical element, the tools that we have to deliver information aren't well suited to the actual nature of the work. So there's a real disconnect there between how we learn and how we do. And we believe that with HoloLens and mixed reality and these new types of technologies that understand your physical environment, that you can operate heads up and hands free, we finally have a mechanism for delivering information in a way which is actually suited to how work is being done. So when you talk to operators and you talk to first-line workers about the value of mixed reality, to them it's not a toy. To them it's not just like a cool new technology. To them it's finally something that fits the way they work and can start to deliver kind of exponential value and really provide that step change when it comes to how companies operate. I think when we look at how mobile technology has influenced kind of the work instructions, training and development space, it's really incremental benefit. So you've moved from paper to an iPad. You've moved from having big binders to flipping through. I've been on site with aircraft technicians. They literally have their head inside a 737 and they're scrolling through an iPad to try to find the right PDF to address the problem that they're trying to fix. And that's the second point here. Work is extremely complex when you look at how end-to-end manufacturing is conducted these days. It's your product engineers that are essentially creating the work instructions for how to put things together, how to fix things. And so much time is spent deciphering schematics, trying to understand systems, as opposed to actually getting the work done. So that's the second major trend or macro issue that we think is driving a lot of the value in what we're doing in the mixed reality space and with guides specifically. And then the third point here on the right, I've kind of alluded to, is there's a real step change in benefit when it comes to utilizing 3D when you're working in 3D, right? It's actually using a medium which aligns with the way that you're working. And we see huge benefits in terms of comprehension and retention, and also the suitability of instructions and content when it comes to getting work done. When we started working on the Guides product, we identified kind of the training and development space as the real area that we wanted to target. And I use that term pretty specifically because we see it as a spectrum, anywhere from classroom training to on-the-job work instructions is a place where HoloLens and Guides can start to unlock some really significant value. And a lot of it depends on some of the kind of specifics of the work environment when we start thinking about how do you find high-value scenarios where Guides can deliver. In terms of the nature of work that we're addressing, we're seeing a lot of value in assembly and manufacturing, quality control, and then service and repair and maintenance for kind of planned maintenance type procedures. But one of the really exciting things about where we're at with Guides is in preview. It's a pretty young product. We've been in market for just over 3 months in preview. Is our users and our customers are starting to surprise us. I got an email from one of our partners a couple days ago, and they sent me a link to a video on YouTube of someone who had made a guide with HoloLens with their 3 children about how to put the dishes away in the dishwasher. And from a product perspective, when your customers and your users start to surprise you and how they're utilizing kind of this core feature set that we've built out for some very specific scenarios, that's really, really exciting for us. So a good way to think about this, so think about training and development as the spectrum or the space. The type of work that we're seeing high value is in manufacturing, quality control, service and maintenance. And then the highest value or most appropriate scenarios within that is when either you have a new person, so someone who's learning how to do a job, or you have a new process or new product, or an experienced person who's trying to learn to do something new. And the reason we frame it like that is mainly just the suitability of the technology fitting into the reality of work. We don't expect people to be wearing HoloLens and using Guides all day, every day for an 8-hour shift. We'll get there, but really focusing on new person or new process within this space. When it comes to the product, there's really 3 key elements to it. There's the operating elements, so what's the actual experience when you're going through a guide on HoloLens. So you saw that on stage with the video that we showed from Pakar and with Maya and Darren. And you can also experience the operator side of Guides in the demo on the floor over here. And we'll go into more detail on that. But there's 2 pieces that we haven't really touched on in the presentations. And that's how do you create the content? And then what happens after the work is done? What type of intelligence and insights can we get? When it comes to authoring, our main focus from a design perspective was ensuring that anyone who currently creates work instructions at a company would be able to create mixed reality work instructions. And the reason we were so focused on that is when you talk to early HoloLens users, they would say, yeah, we love HoloLens, we're amazed by its capabilities, but it's expensive and hard for us to actually get content on there. We have to go hire Unity developers, we have to go build custom 3D models. The cost benefit just isn't there. So we really focused on ensuring that the tool was accessible and easy to use, and we kind of benchmarked around PowerPoint. So if you can make a good PowerPoint, you'll be able to make a good mixed reality guide for HoloLens. And we're going to go into exactly how that works. So let's just make sure this works here. Okay, so there's two elements to the authoring experience when it comes to creating content for guides on HoloLens. So the first part is how you do all the how you put all the information for your guide and structure it. So you write out all your steps for your procedure. The way a guide is structured is with tasks and then steps. So you write all your steps out. You add any media to your step, all on PC. So if you've got images, videos, or 3D content, you do that all on the PC app, PC authoring app, and it kind of feels like PowerPoint. So that's the interface for the PC app as it exists today. And one of the important things, there's two key things that I want to point out here. The first is the look and feel. It was very important for us that we had a one-to-one relationship between what you're seeing on PC and what you're going to see on HoloLens. Because this is a completely new medium, and it's very important that people that are creating content keep in mind the medium that they're creating content for. You can't just take a 10-page operating procedure and copy and paste it and put it on HoloLens. You're not going to see the benefits there. I've seen so many examples of 10-page procedures turning into one sentence and a holographic arrow. This is a fundamentally different way to deliver information that reduces cognitive load and makes it so much faster for people to understand what they're supposed to do. When you go and do the demo over there, you'll essentially be going through a procedure to assemble a component to an aircraft, something I assume you've never done before, and you'll be able to do it right away. And the dogs like it too. The other aspect that I wanted to point out here is what you're seeing with those arrows and circles. So when you're working with 3D, it can be pretty complicated, especially if you've got engineering CAD. So we wanted to ensure that users could get value out of the 3D aspect of guides and HoloLens without having to deal with the complexity of engineering CAD and optimizing models and all those types of things. So what we've included with the authoring tool is what we call a 3D toolkit. So these are things like arrows and zones and numbers. So you can use those 3D models to put a guide together so you can get the value of in-world 3D without having to create custom 3D content or deal with optimization and things like that. You can use custom 3D models if you have them, but we also offer this 3D toolkit as well. So you do all your information work on the PC, you write out all your steps, you add all your media to each step in your procedure, and then you go into HoloLens in authoring mode, and you do all the spatial authoring. So if you remember from the presentation yesterday, this interface looks different than what Maya was seeing when she was going through the procedure as an operator. What you see here is your asset gallery. So these are the 3D models that you added on the PC authoring tool, and then you place them in world when you're doing the authoring on HoloLens. So information work on the PC and spatial work on the HoloLens. So there's two things that the author is going to do on HoloLens. The first thing is connect the step to the physical spot that it relates to. So if I was building a guide for this podium here, I'd have written out all my steps, plug in the computer, make sure this is connected, check this cable. I've done that all on PC, probably added a few circles and arrows, maybe some 3D numbers if I wanted to show a sequence of activities. And then when I'd go into HoloLens, I would physically connect each step in my procedure with the physical item that I'm working on. And when you do that, that's when you get that, what we call the tether, or an attention director. So you read your instruction card, you follow that tether, oh, that's where the plug is right here. So with this type of setup that seems pretty simple, but when you're dealing with a complex system, which can be quite overwhelming, that attention director, where to, I have a dog at home, so I'm used to this. where that step relates to is really important. And then you would also place your 3D models in world as well. So I'll just let this run, and you can see kind of the various authoring components to authoring here. Information work on the PC, add all your media, 2D images, video, and 3D, spatial authoring on HoloLens. What you're seeing there are the natural gestures that are coming with HoloLens 2. So how many people have used the first HoloLens? Okay, so with HoloLens 1, the gestures were pretty rigid. You had to do that air tap and that bloom. So with HoloLens 2, you now have a natural gesture system that you can use. Okay. So the operator side of it, you guys saw this yesterday, so I just want to highlight three key elements to the authoring experience. The first was designing a UX that accounted and accommodated for the physical nature of work. So you're ducking, you're bending, you're getting parts, you're moving around. We had to make sure that the interface was designed to keep up with you while you worked. So we have this dynamic, what we call like tag-along behavior that keeps up with an operator as they're moving through the procedure. So if they're ducking down, the interface is going to come and meet them. But it's also got some unique tuning so that it doesn't get in the way. Anyone who's used a lot of HoloLens applications, it can sometimes be treated like there's this infinite holographic canvas, put content everywhere, and it actually becomes more distracting than supportive. So we made sure that if I'm working here and I look down, the card's not going to come and cover the thing that I'm working on, right? So there's some unique elements to that. The other aspect of the operator experience was how do you connect the physical and the digital together. So I mentioned that tether, that thing that shows you where each step connects to. So that's how you start to build this mental model of information, follow that, where am I working in the real world? So we use that tether to really connect the two things together. And then the third aspect that Maya mentioned in the presentation yesterday was the hands-free nature of it. If you've got tools and parts in your hands, you're not going to be able to air tap or poke an interface. So you navigate through the entire experience just using gaze. So all you have to do is look at the hotspots within the UI, at the different buttons, and that's how you progress through the experience. So you've got the dynamic interface that keeps up with you and moves with you. You've got the tether to connect the digital and the physical, and you have the hands-free control utilizing gaze. So that's the core operator experience. So you see here a mixture of the 3D toolkit, so the arrows and circles, and then also custom 3D models here, which we used in this guide as well. So the third component of the product is the analysis and insights component. So as you're going through a procedure, we're able to collect a lot of really valuable data. How long does this procedure take? How long does each step take? And we're able to build some really interesting intelligence out of that. So if I was running a training program and I was looking at this report here, that last step would be really alarming. Why is there so much variability there? There must be something wrong with the procedure. There must be something wrong with the work instructions. Let me go and dig into that to start to optimize my process a bit better. And really, when you go into these types of environments and you ask them how do they do their process optimization, it's so crude these days. There's video time studies, people standing there with stopwatches, spaghetti diagrams, cardboard cutouts. But now when you have people doing work with HoloLens, they're able to capture all this rich data and start, I think, to really transform how we conduct kind of process analysis and optimization. But also what happens with this is because Guides is built on CDS, is built on the Common Data Service, we're able to utilize these guide run events to trigger flows and connectors that allow you to do lots of different types of things. So if I want to send an email to a manager if the procedure takes too long by a given operator and I need to send them a reminder next week, we can build that with Flow. If I want to build a report of all the different jobs that were done, I can do that with Flow. If I want to integrate with Teams, so we can start to use all this data, start to integrate into existing business process workflows. And that's why being part of the Dynamics family and being built on CDS is so essential and so valuable to us. When we think about the key benefits of guides, there's really 4 key areas. So increased productivity, so you're able to do more at a higher rate, do things faster, get up to speed faster, but also balancing that with quality, right? There's no point in doing more if it's going to be worse quality. So because we're able to deliver information in such a compelling way and a way that makes sense for how the work is being done, you're also going to see a reduction in errors and maintaining that quality bar. The third one is pretty interesting. What we've seen a lot is when you deploy mixed reality and deploy HoloLens to a specific process or operation, the level of engagement from operators really goes up. We believe that's because they're finally given tools which actually suit the way they work, right? And operators are feeling supported in a way to get the job done in a way that makes sense to them. And then the last one we just mentioned is you're now able to generate and capture and utilize data which otherwise we weren't able to access before. So just to wrap up, Guides is in preview. Got a summary here of kind of the key points that I mentioned. If you hit those links down there on the right, aka.ms/getguides, there's instructions there for how to get set up with preview. You do need a HoloLens. Guides, it will be available for HoloLens 1 and HoloLens 2 when that is released. And we've got some excellent documentation too. If you don't have HoloLenses, but want to start preparing for when HoloLens 2 is going to be available, I would encourage you to start going through our documentation. There's excellent documentation around how to author a guide, best practices, how to pick scenarios. So really, really a lot of rich information there. We're at time now, so I'll hang around a bit for questions. I would love to chat and hear about what you're thinking and the opportunities and value that you see with HoloLens, mixed reality, guides, remote assist, everything that we're up to. So thanks for joining during your lunch. Appreciate it.